My biggest point of emphasis is two things. Number one is that you've got to be investing into something. You've got to be in some sort of, you have to create another income vehicle for you. If it's you and your spouse, that's two. Great. Money can be a third instrument there and could work harder and longer than you guys will ever work. It won't ever require you for PTO, won't get sick, won't do any of those things. It will keep working. So you got to figure out what tool can you use. So a lot of times the easiest way to get started right away is getting into the stock market, right? Investing for your retirement. What is the S&P 500? Of course, that's always the most popular one, right? On average, over the last 100 years, you're looking at 10 to 11%. So, although it's going to have ebbs and flows along the way, it absolutely will. No, 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 you can't do anything about that. But over the course of time, if you just invest into that, you will do significantly better than a lot of other options that might be out there for you under the mattress, a savings account in a bank, a CD. All these things you can do, you will do better over the long term just investing in the S&P 500, and that will help you accumulate more along the way, plus the dividends that they add to the account along the way. So now you're getting a whole bunch of avenues where it's helping you keep things moving.
Welcome to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals who work with investors, buyers, and sellers of commercial real estate coast to coast. Whether you're an investor, broker, lender, property manager, attorney, or accountant, we're here to learn from the experts.
Welcome to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio. Thanks for joining us. My name is Jay Darren Gross. This is a podcast focused on commercial real estate investment and risk management strategies. Weekly, we have conversations with commercial real estate investors and professionals who provide their experience and insight to help you grow your real estate portfolio. Today's interview is sponsored by Building Insurance and Risk. When you invest in real estate, it pays to work with a real estate investor protection specialist to protect yourself and your investment from catastrophic loss. The experts at Building Insurance and Risk focus on real estate investor protection. They provide you with multiple insurance coverage offers and a side-by-side coverage comparison. To learn more, go to buildinginsurancerisk.com. Today, my guest is George Thomas. George Thomas is the founder of Financial Freedom Builders, an organization helping families build confidence with money. And in just a minute, we're going to speak with George Thomas about money and wealth building concepts. But first, a quick reminder, if you like our show, CREPN Radio, there are a couple things you can do to help us out. You can like, share, and subscribe. And as always, we encourage you to leave a comment. We'd love to hear from our listeners. Also, if you want to see how handsome our guests are, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. You can find us on YouTube at Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. And while you're there, please subscribe. With that, I want to welcome my guest, George Thomas. Welcome to CREPN Radio.
Hey, good morning. Great to be here. I'm glad for the invitation, and I'm definitely excited about this conversation for sure.
Well, I'm delighted you're here, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. But before we get started, if you could take just a minute and share with the listeners a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so my name is George. I got into the finance game a little closer to 2 decades ago. Went in, done a lot of things through banking, did some real estate, investing, etc. I then pivoted for a while, went up the healthcare administration route. A lot of that was largely in part due to a contribution back to my mom. My mom was a nurse for many years. It was fantastic. I volunteered so many of my summers with her, got into the healthcare space, decided to go down that road. Did really well there. Got all the way up to a vice president level of a large company, national, which was great. But at the end of the day, my heart was in the fact that I wanted to help people. I've always had a heart to serve. And many years ago, my wife and I were in a situation where we weren't necessarily at the top of our game. It wasn't that money wasn't being made or coming in. It was that money systems weren't in place. And so, things we were able to transform our financial situation. And since then, we have found a path to financial freedom. And so suddenly what we've done is that along the road, we've decided to stop and turn around and find anyone else who has not found this road, get them on the road so that they too and their families can find their path to financial freedom. So that's the passion behind this. It's a calling from God that I decided to pursue many years ago. And since then, it's just been a blessing. And it's been a great journey just seeing how many lives are being transformed through it. So it's a little bit about us.
I appreciate that. So money, it's something, everybody needs money. Um, I don't know that it's a fruit of all evil, as sometimes it's been said, but it's a vehicle. It's something that you need in order to invest, to survive, to make your way, at least in America. How do you, having been on the journey you're on, from where you started to where you are now and working with your clients, how do you identify and when you're talking with your clients, how do you what's the concept of money for your clients?
Yeah, many people think money is a resource to them, and it's a means of survival, right? It's a way to be able to pay those bills, to kind of keep food on the table, all these things, and although that money can serve that purpose, and it does in many ways. One of the things that we focus on right from the beginning, before we go into specifically talking about money and strategies and all these things, is to reprogram the mindset. I think the issue is that for many of us, and this goes all the way back to the late 1800s, John D. Rockefeller and the General Education Board, and kind of what the purpose of that was, right? At the time, we were the economy was in an influx, and there were a lot of lower income individuals that didn't have means to have sustainable income, and so he created this General Education Board. It was an emphasis for lower income families, of course, primarily to the African American community, but there were a lot of other communities that weren't doing well. And this was a path to allow people to be able to obtain and acquire a vocation so that they would be able to make sustainable money or income for the duration of their life through the vocation that they acquire. So all of that is great, and it that did serve a purpose. But what we are being programmed to right from the beginning was the vocation leads you to money. But the problem is that the vocation comes at a price. And that's using your most valuable asset, which is time. So from beginning, when you peel it all in, the wealthy, those that knew really what money really was, repackaged it back to those that did not have access to the information and basically said that to acquire this money, subconsciously you're going to have to use your most valuable asset, which is time. So most people now believe that you have to work to make money. So the mindset is that the issue is that money is not a resource. Your resource is actually time. It's actually your most valuable resource. Money is a tool for you to preserve your most valuable asset. And so when you start seeing it that way, then you realize then, okay, so money is actually supposed to help me recoup back my most valuable asset, which is time. That's what the wealthy have. The difference between the wealthy and those that are not wealthy is that it's not money. It's the fact that they have more access to time so that they're using that tool of money to get back more time to be able to do whatever they want to do. And they're smart enough to know that if I can get, Billy to do this job, I no longer have to, and I get more access to the resource, which is money, and I get to keep the most valuable assets, time. So to answer your question, for me, money is as simply as a tool to help you recoup back the most as you possibly can of your most valuable asset, which is time. But most people, where you get it wrong, is that they're using their most valuable asset to then go and acquire what they believe is a resource, but it's really supposed to be just used as a tool.
I love the kind of the flip of the mindset there. So when you start working with clients, how is it that you go about helping them to shift their mindset from money being a resource to a tool?
Not easy because you're essentially you're undoing what we've all been conditioned to from the beginning. We all go to school, we're supposed to go to college, we're supposed to do all these things, and yes, there's value in all of these things, but the path that we're led to from the beginning is on the other side to end up with a vocation, which is to use this thing to help you go make money, but it requires you to spend time. So that's a journey because what the first question comes is okay, so how in the world am I supposed to make money if I'm not using time? Which is a very valid question. And that is one of the biggest barriers most people can't overcome is not understanding how to make money without using time. So we tell everyone is the first thing you need to do is to organize your money system to see where your money is currently going. You get the money system in place, you then can start working the process and redoing and refixing your machine. Your machine has it that you're working to just make the ends meet. So what you need to do is first see what money is coming out of what we are encouraging. So things that are coming in, money coming in, what's going out, and ultimately why. Because the first way you can make money in right away is essentially to retain money coming out. If you can keep money in, it doesn't require you to spend time. So this is why we emphasize to everyone in our community that the net worth, that's the first thing, and anyone that's ever done anything within financial freedom builders, if you've taken a course, you've taken coaching, we got coaches, we have all these things. Everyone knows that our number one indicator when it comes to your financial journey is your net worth. Your net worth is an equation. It's your net income less your total expenses. So if you do that the math equation, that means that if you get more income, that will increase your net worth. But that's not the only way to increase your net worth. You could also decrease your expenses, and that can also increase your net worth. So if you decrease your expenses, that doesn't require you to use time though to increase your net worth. So that's always a great starting point is just to start with your expenses, and then from there you work yourself around the system, and then you can start seeing progress. It takes time to do this because it took you a while to get to where you are today. So you cannot assume that tomorrow you get to be right, on your next where you want to be ultimately desired. There was a journey to get you to this point, so there will be a journey to get out. But if you stay on that journey, now your systems are going to be in place.
Yeah, no, I've always loved the concept of, or I mean, not the concept, but just the how people are so willing to do one or the other. Either try and make more or spend less, but they don't recognize it's the combo there. They can really give you the synergy there to have more to save, kind of thing. I'm curious with the people you've worked with. Um, do you find is it more often the lack of a system? Is it just they don't have a handle on what their money's going towards? What is it that's the easy to identify?
For most people, it's always a lack of system. Systems are not in place, and so they're just going from situation to situation, circumstance to circumstance, bill to bill, unexpected expense to unexpected expense. So number one is for sure the system. So they don't have the system in place, but a lot of times it's almost like telling somebody, okay, you need this particular apparatus in your home to allow you to do all these things. But if you don't know how to build the apparatus, or assemble the apparatus to put into your home, even if you know your systems are not in place, if you don't have the tools or understanding of what are the things you need to build your systems, that's also the next piece. So number one is the systems. Number two is the literacy that comes with it. And so what we've been able to do along the way is and this is what makes us different than a lot. There's a lot of financial programs that are out there that are great. Ramsey and all this, they're great. But what's differentiated us in a particular way is that we are able to explain finance in a way that's easy to understand, digest, and implement. So we are now showing you what these tools are. What this is what the hammer does. This is what the wrench does. This is what the screwdriver does. These are what the nails does. With all of this in place, now you can build the system. You put the system in place, and all you got to do is continue to follow through with consistency and discipline, and then you start seeing the results on the other side. So it's system, and then it's the literacy as well.
Right. So on your journey to financial freedom, obviously the system is kind of the starting point. Well, I guess education and then system,
Mhm.
and then creating some sort of surplus that you have the ability to invest. Is that the next step?
Yeah, I mean, it can go a lot of different directions. So for us, one thing that we always emphasize for everyone is the value add in investing. You have to be able to have your money making you money without you actually doing anything for it. So again, these are all mechanisms that are allowing you to increase the tool, which is money, without necessarily costing you the resource, which is time. You put your money to work. Your money is the one that's actually spending the time. The money's in the market. The money's doing this. The money's going up. The money's going down. The whole thing. But you're still in full control of the time. That's what the wealthy have done. The wealthy have found a way, instead of trading time for money, what they've done is they've traded money for more money. So they're able to make money while they're sleeping, while they're at the beach, while they're in the hospital, wherever the case may be, wherever life takes them, money is still being compounded because they're using that vehicle, which you're talking about with investing, to do it, and it's not requiring them to spend time. So a lot of your listeners may be sitting here like, man, that sounds great. A lot of us, man, what would we do with all the extra time, right? All the moments that we may have missed along the way with our loved ones, with our children, right? Our children are getting older. They're doing this, they're doing these great things. Our parents, right? Those that are fortunate enough to have our parents still around, you know, all the time that's remaining, right? If you could spend all those countless minutes that you would want with them, knowing that your bases are covered because you have enough of the tool in place that's helping you keep and maintain your most precious asset, which is time. I mean, anybody would trade for that. Anybody would at that point, right? If you could trade being able to be with those that you care about the most or going to work, which would you choose? I think it's a pretty simple answer there.
Yeah, no doubt. Being able to spend time with your family and loved ones, that's definitely the goal. Um, so so you've got the education, the system, and kind of the path. What I guess one of the questions I've got is where do you see most people? Is there a particular or a similar path they go to when they invest? Is it or is it kind of a pick what you want to invest in?
Yeah, there are a lot of avenues here, and we're not necessarily married to anything in particular. So we get into stock markets, we do stock trading, we do that, we teach that, right? We teach folks those things. We do cryptocurrency, we do real estate. I have real estate, and we have properties and all these other great things. So my biggest point of emphasis is two things. Number one is that you've got to be investing into something. You've got to be in some sort of. You have to create another income vehicle for you. If it's you and your spouse, that's two. Great. Money can be a third instrument there and could work harder and longer than you guys will ever work. It won't ever require you for PTO, won't get sick, won't do any of those things. It will keep working. So you got to figure out what tool can you use. So a lot of times the easiest way to get started right away is getting into the stock market, right? Investing for your retirement. What is the S&P 500? Of course, that's always the most popular one, right? On average, over the last 100 years, you're looking at 10 to 11%. So, although it's going to have ebbs and flows along the way, it absolutely will. No, 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 you can't do anything about that. But over the course of time, if you just invest into that, you will do significantly better than a lot of other options that might be out there for you under the mattress, a savings account in a bank, a CD. All these things you can do, you will do better over the long term just investing in the S&P 500, and that will help you accumulate more along the way, plus the dividends that they add to the account along the way. So now you're getting a whole bunch of avenues where it's helping you keep things moving. Now there are a lot of other ways you can go with this thing. We go down a rabbit hole with folks within our community. We teach those things hands on, literally hands on, working with them with strategies, doing things with them in real time. So, but for those listening here, for value add here, at the minimum, S&P 500 is a great way to start. But cryptocurrency provides you apps, hard money lending, real estate. There's so many other things you can do to make money. But the key is you have to have your money making you more money because essentially the value of the dollar continues to decline, inflation continues to rise, and the uncertainty of the global dollar over the next 50 to 100 years, which will affect us in our lifetime. The reality is that you are essentially having to work more to get the same amount of money. And you may just not realize it. You say, I work 40 hours a week. Yeah, but your money's not taking you as far as it used to. So for it to continue to go where it used to take you before, you would have to work more or make more. So your money's not taking you as far and you're still working the same, if not more. So you got to be investing.
Yeah, no, definitely, to keep up, uh, just to keep up, I mean, you got to invest. Um, so what when people start investing, or I guess, how do you set their mindset for timelines for, because one thing I've recognized in my life is it's over time, unless you're winning the lottery or something that it's an instant uh, cash thing. Most of us, it's a journey over time. And how do you set people or get them to understand and to really understand the timeline and the compounding of investment?
Yeah, the compounding of investment is one thing, but you talked about time. So one thing I'll sit on for a second is I'll give you an analogy. This is an analogy we've used in our community before, but this is just kind of how we try to explain things in a way that's easy to understand when it comes to finances in general. So number one is that let's say the example, you have a flower bed in your home, okay, and you decided you were planting apple seeds. So you started planting apple seeds. You started watering the seeds, the sun, you started taking care of it, and taking care of it, and taking care of it, and all these things. Months later, maybe 4 or 5 months later, you say, you know what? I have the apple seed, but you know what? I want to get it. I'd rather get an orange tree instead. So you go to the store, you buy the orange seeds. You start dropping the orange seeds, you start putting the water in, and you start to, a couple of weeks later, something buds out of the ground. Now you're like, man, wait a minute, man, this is amazing. So you're excited about it. And so you continue to water, you continue to do the thing. And so as it buds out, you get confused. You're like, wait a minute. This is an apple tree, but I planted the orange seed and I've been working through it. Well, the issue is that yes, you did plant the orange seed and you're trying to get the orange tree and you're doing the right things. The problem is that 6 months ago, you planted the apple seed. And so now what's budding out are the fruit of the apple seed you planted in the previous season. So what I tell people all the time is that unfortunately the way it works with your journey financially is that the seeds you planted in your previous season may not be congruent with the seeds you're planting today. So you're gonna have to eat the fruit of the previous season because you can't do anything about that. Those are the decisions you made. But if you planted the seeds and you continue to push through going forward, eventually the fruit of the seeds you're planting today will bud out in the future. But if you get tired now saying that, wait a minute, I started cleaning up my stuff and I still don't have a lot of money left over and all this, I'm struggling, and you don't realize that you're eating the fruit of your previous season, then you're going to quit while the seed that you're trying to plant is still on the ground that still require you to still put the work in and be consistent, and you won't see the orange tree on the other side. So you got to plant seeds for fruit you want to eat in the future. That's what I tell people all the time. And I keep it very simple when it comes to that with financial.
Yeah, the garden analogy is always a good one. Just recognize the time it takes, especially with a tree. I mean, the tree isn't going to bear fruit, right away, kind of thing. Um, so, how long have you been doing this with the students and the coaching?
Yeah, so financial freedom, we've been over a decade at this point. So we
Okay.
started this about 12 years ago. And honestly, my intention of it originally wasn't really to do anything crazy with it. I just did it because a few folks wanted help and was like, you know what? Let's see if we can organize something to help you guys kind of get on track. And we started doing it. But one thing led to another, outcomes led to another, and then it was inspiration from one to another saying, hey, we need to do this in a more grander scale because this is truly impactful to people and you're literally speaking to where they are, relating with them, and then making things in a way that's easy to understand so that they can implement. And so then it just started catching wind, and partnerships came in after that, and it just kind of caught its sails. And again, I believe it's just honestly, I think it's simply, and I said this from the beginning, but I simply believe it was really just because I responded to a calling God had in my life. Didn't have to do this. The money I make is through investments, not through the coaching. I have investments. I do all these things. This was literally a passion that we cared about people and their financial future, and we wanted to look back to help out along the way. And the genuineness of it, I think, is what people really resonate with more than anything else.
Got it. And you mentioned, I think you mentioned before we started recording how you have like weekly calls, or how is it that you work with the your customers, your clients?
Yeah, so we have coaches that can work with folks. There's different tiers. We have different tiers. So we have a gold tier where you would work with a coach over a 12-month period. You go over through a curriculum. It's 12-month curriculum. It's very detailed, very granular. It's tailor-made to the situations everyone's going through. And then we go through that, and then that's kind of one platform. The other one is the silver tier. The silver tier is through a private community network where everyone is housed in the community. We provide investment opportunities, financial literacy, etc. There's one-to-one coaching, but through the platform as well. You don't get the face-to-face as you would in the gold tier, but you still get access to a coach along the way. And then every month we host a monthly masterclass, whether it's hosted by me, one of the coaches. Sometimes we get an industry expert on a particular field talking about their level of expertise. Maybe a member in our community is interested in that particular field, so they're able to engage with the industry expert following that. And then the other piece is that all of those things were great, but a lot of times, especially nowadays, with folks having to work so much to just try to make ends meet, they may not always have the availability and accessibility to be able to sit and do a two 30-minute coaching sessions a month. So what we created months ago, which has been an absolute game changer, and this is the one thing I would tell you as if for anybody listening to this is an absolute game changer that I would recommend, is that we created a self-paced course several months ago called Freedom Builders Academy. And so what Freedom Builders Academy was, it created a four-module course that emphasizes on expense management, budgeting, investing, and then as you were talking earlier, Darren, about time management and action implementation. So all of those things were built into a four-module course, has study guides, has an instructor-led lesson, quizzes, and then at the end of the course there's a final exam, but and with homework as well in each of the chapters. So you're learning, you're being tested on your ability to acquire and retain the knowledge that's being given to you, and then you're given homework in every chapter so that you're putting it into action, so that you're actually taking real steps to progress. And so people have jumped all over that because you can go at that on your own pace. Most people take about 2 to 4 weeks to finish it, but that's been a game changer, man, and that's it's been a blessing. We've gotten so many great reviews about that, and it's just but Freedom Builders Academy was a game changer for sure several months ago.
Got it. So one of the questions I've got, and I think you've kind of touched on it, but I'm just kind of curious to hear the direct kind of question. Accountability. I feel like, one of the things it's rampant in kind of the self-help community. I mean, everybody wants to change their course, lose weight, get strong, invest, whatever that is. How do you implement accountability in the program?
Well, I think there's a few ways to do it. Number one is that we have on there, of course, the coaches. The coaches they're absolutely fantastic individuals. They care about people. They live and breathe the mission of what we do here, and they understand what we're truly trying to do, which is really impact families. The other thing is there's a few other pieces that we have in place. So every month, members in our community provide and they submit to us their expense report of their previous month's expenses in their family. What that does is it gives you an idea that somebody is going to review objectively what's going on. So you're not just acquiring this information, not like a summer camp thing or whatever, where you go to some place, you learn this thing, you feel left, with goosebumps and you're feeling good, the hair standing up, and you leave, and then 2 weeks later you're not doing anything. You want to be a part of this. We're looking for people that are really serious about what they're doing, because once you're in, then we're leaning in with you and your family to get you where you guys need to be. I think the fact that we have that platform is fantastic because the platform literally is providing notifications regularly about investment opportunities. Hey, we see this going on. We actually dropped a couple earlier today on some trades that we're all currently in, or at least some of us, whoever took it on. Again, it's not financial advice for them, but they all know the deal with it. But we're all in a few trades now in the market that we're just assessing and holding and leaving there. But we do see that we've made people. I mean, people have made some crazy money through there. But the accountability comes from people literally mindful of your progress, and then you also being held accountable to what you're doing on a month by month basis because you're going to review your expenses monthly with us.
Yeah, no, I love it. The some sort of a knowing that you're going to have to report, and you're going to be, whether it's a grade, but there's somebody's paying attention. I think that's beautiful. I love it.
Yes, sir.
So, hey, George, if we could, I'd like to shift gears here for a second. By day, I mentioned to you before we started recording that I'm an insurance broker. And as such, I work with my clients to assess risk and determine what to do with the risk. And there's three strategies we typically consider. We first look to see if there's a way we can avoid the risk. If we can't avoid it, then we look to see if there's a way we can minimize the risk. And if we're unable to avoid nor minimize the risk, then we look to see if we can transfer the risk. And that's what an insurance policy is. It's a risk transfer vehicle. And as such, I like to ask my guests if they can look at their own situation. Could be your clients, the market, politics, whatever it is that you see and identify and consider to be the biggest risk. And again, for clarification, while I'm an insurance broker, I'm not necessarily looking for an insurance related answer. And so if you're willing, I'd like to ask you, George Thomas, what is the biggest risk?
The by far the biggest risk is not investing. To Darren's point about can you avoid it? You could try to avoid it. You can put it into a savings account. You could, avoid the market because you're worried about what could happen with your money. You could, but you run the risk of having to work tirelessly and getting nowhere the rest of your life. So that moves that away. The second piece is can you mitigate it in some regards? So you can do things to help you mitigate some by understanding what the strategies are when it comes to investing, right? It does carry risk. Yes, you could be in the wrong investment and it could turn into a true disaster. So what you do there to mitigate is to get the education you need to be able to use what you know is necessary for you to get to your end destination, which is financial freedom. And then you talked about transferring risk. Transferring risk is you can transfer risk through investing if you enter strong, long-standing companies at discounted prices. If you can do that, all strong companies eventually, although they go on sale, they do rebound and then continue upward because they are true companies that are profitable, revenue generating with significant shareholder interest. So if you can get strong blue chip companies at a discount and then enter your investing, you're transferring the risk back to the company to help for them to continue to perform and be those companies. So if you're in the Microsofts, the Nvidias, and all these other ones, again, these are just examples, not financial advice. But if you can find these companies at a discount, that can help you transfer some of the risk and concerns you may have about investing. Transfer it back to the company that you're investing into for them to continue to perform. So the greatest risk is not investing because if you don't invest, how exactly are you planning to get to your end destination with your financial goals for you and your family? And most people that don't invest end up working tirelessly and long and missing out on important things that were important in their life. And if they would have just had just a little more of their most valuable asset, time, they would have been able to do and enjoy life the way that they ultimately would have. So that to me is a great risk and not one I'm worth taking. So we got into investing.
Awesome. George, where can the listeners go if they'd like to learn more or connect with you?
Yeah, right now, I would say the easiest way right now is www.freedombuildersacademy.com. I tell everyone listening that is the number one baseline for everyone to start their journey. Start there, get the information you need. You will learn things that will help you open your eyes to doing things differently, to consider a different process, maybe implementing a new money system. And then from there, you're going to put things into action through this course. It's going to be worth your time, well worth your time. And then on the other side, if you want to do more beyond that, you say, hey, this was great. I want more. Then at that point, we would encourage everybody to consider financial freedom builders. And then you can go down a whole rabbit hole that can lead you to endless possibilities. But the first stop for sure, www.freedombuildersacademy.com.
Awesome. Well, George Thomas, I can't say thanks enough for taking the time to talk. I've enjoyed it. I've learned a lot, and I look forward to doing it again soon.
Yes, sir. It was a pleasure, and we have definitely have to do this again. I'm sure we'll stay in touch, sir.
You got it. For our listeners, if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, the more you know, the more you grow. That's all we've got this week. Until next time, thanks for listening to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio.
You're listening to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals. For more information on this or any of our guests, like us on Facebook, CREPN Radio.